Homework, heaven or hell? Well, here are a few tips how you can help your son while at Palmerston North Boys High to get involved with homework. Doing homework is key to the assessment system in the senior years. Some students may well think that teachers lie awake at night thinking, how are they going to ruin my evenings each week? That's certainly not the case. During the day, your son will attend 4 to 5 lessons, depending upon whether he has a program like phys ed that day. But the point is that during those 55 minutes, activities will be carried out, new ideas learned, and there is not always the opportunity for the teacher to get to each and every single student every lesson. And therefore there is some responsibility on the student to practice and review the day's events, ensure that they get them right. And that's the purpose of homework, in order to review that day's lesson. Also built into that is being ready for the next day's lesson. Practicing and perfecting what was done today leads in to understanding of tomorrow. And we must also realize that the curriculum that your son is sitting is large. There isn't time in the classroom alone to cover every aspect of it. That's what homework. Now, certainly when I say cover every aspect, the principles are covered. There's no doubt about that. But the actual practice and reviewing is not always possible during a lesson time. And that's why the homework is absolutely essential to fill in that important link from day to day in the learning cycle. What's in it for the student? A question every student asks themselves. Something about secondary school to bear in mind is this is your son's first job. The students need to realize that here is the opportunity to build good habits of presentation, good habits of communication, good habits of reliability. Actually turning up to school is an important achievement each and every day. Employers, or prospective employers should I say, will often phone teachers or members of the staff asking about a prospective employee during the interview process, after the interview process. And one of the first questions, what was the student's attendance like? And thereon follows habits and attitudes. Well, homework is all part of that. It is developing those personal values that foster reliability and pride in oneself in order to do a good job. The homework in itself will lift achievement. It's also an opportunity for parents to keep an eye on what their students are doing and offer communication links and being able to communicate with the teachers with a background knowledge of what is actually being done in the way of lessons. Often when talking to parents about their children and their mathematics education, I hear the expression, well, I couldn't do it, so how can I expect him to do it? Yeah, there's probably a little bit of truth in that, but on the other hand, are we not just perpetuating something that is not desirable, really? How about turning that around as, look, I couldn't do this, but I would really like to support you in any way I can, that you are able to do this. I think once we as parents have a good attitude towards education, our children will pick up on that. And if we believe homework is important, they are going to pick up on that as well. But if we absolutely dismiss homework as being ineffective, well then, we may as well back out of this presentation right now. All right, you're still with us. Excellent. How about then handling homework? Heaven or hell? That was the first statement. It certainly can be hell, make no error. The key is establishing routine. Work it in with your family lifestyle. But set a regular time. Decide on be whatever suits your family. Let's say 5 to 6 p.m. is homework time. Or maybe it works better from 8:30 p.m. till 9:30. That's fine, but be regular and not 7 nights a week. My goodness, no. 4 nights, 5 nights a week, absolutely. Perhaps weekend homework gets done. Or, again, fit it in with your family lifestyle. Decide what it's going to be. Is it going to be done on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening, or is it going to be a Sunday afternoon? But whatever it is, do it regularly. Of course, they're special nights. They absolutely are. But they are just that, special. A birthday? Certainly. Perhaps things can take a second seat to whatever the family might do to celebrate birthdays, and every birthday must be celebrated. But when a particular person, Aunt Aggie, let's say, has a birthday 52 times a year, well, that gets a bit awkward, and things just are not achieved. Get back to that routine as quickly as possible. Often we hear the statement, there just isn't time in the week to do homework. Well, have a look at these statistics at the bottom. We've got 168 hours in the week. 32 and a half of them are actually spent in lessons at school. That leaves 130.5. Okay, take out 56 hours for sleep, working on 8 hours a day. That still leaves 79.5 hours a week. What do you do with that time? Of course, sport, there's practice, there are matches. Knock off 20 hours for that. That's still 59. A lot of time. Part of the routine, developing good study habits, is to have a good study area. Lots of light. Supplies need to be close at hand. It's amazing how, if every evening when it's homework time, an hour can be spent looking for a pencil, then a ruler, then an eraser, then a calculator. A little tip. Have a little plastic container. Maybe it's an ice cream container. Maybe it's a container that you get at the warehouse. It doesn't matter what. It can be a cardboard box. Put all the homework supplies in that container. The pencil, the ruler, the eraser, the calculator, the notebook, the little bit of refill, whatever it is. And whenever homework is done, well, just haul it out. There it is. You're ready to go. You're not wasting time getting set up. And a study area, it just does not have to be fancy at all. A desk in the bedroom, yeah, all very well, but the kitchen table. And the advantage of the kitchen table, maybe homework can be done while the evening meal is prepared. However it works in with your family lifestyle. The other advantage of the kitchen table is it puts you in an automatic supervision situation that you can actually keep track and make sure that the homework is being done. Supposing the kitchen table is the place where homework is to be done. Now, what if you have a television in the kitchen and you're watching The Chase at 5 o'clock and you're expecting your son to do homework? Well, we can see the conflict. We need those distractions out of the way. So perhaps the son is in the next room if you have to watch your television program. Some compromises really do need to be made. Texting. Well, this is a no-no, and sometimes some hard calls have to be made. If your son in year 9 is still trying to establish habits, you are the parent. You are in control. You are able to say, leave your cell phone with me while you go next door and you do your homework. And every 20 minutes, you'll get your phone back for 5 minutes. You can have a text storm, and then I'll take the phone back from you. Your son might be a little resistant at first, but negotiate, because there is no greater homework distraction than texting. Music, this is an interesting one. Headphones. Teenagers these days have interesting concentration styles, far different to perhaps when we were at school. Headphones and music can be an aid to study, so they could also block out distractions. Household noises. If you have a noisy house, if someone feels the necessity to watch television and run a chainsaw at the same time, perhaps that's not the best way to do it. In that case, alternative venues for homework. The city library could be a good one. Negotiate something with your son. Regular times there, getting that homework done out the way. You check. Keep that supervisory position going. You are the parent. Homework diaries are key to the organization students need in order to maintain good homework habits, and they are also a huge aid for you as the parent in a supervisory role. All students in Year 9 and 10 were issued with homework diaries this year. They will have them. Ask to see it. Looking inside the homework diary, if you see a blank page like this on a normal school day, you know there's something wrong. This is what you should be seeing: an entry against each subject, what is to be done, some detail that you can look at that diary and know exactly what the homework is for each lesson your son has had that day. Here's a little tip that could help your son get organized. We'll see 2 columns have been drawn on the right, added in. One is headed T and the other P. T stands for time, the time estimated for that work to be done. P, the priority. Now you can have entries in this homework diary for homework that perhaps is due next week, something like a history assignment, in which case you'll have an allocation of 60 minutes maybe, and that can be spread over a number of nights. Prioritizing will give the importance of that work. What is due tomorrow? What must be done immediately? What can be spread over a few days as those deadlines approach? Helping your son to manage time would be a wonderful, wonderful asset and skill you could pass on. And here is the golden rule. It is your son's homework, not yours. No teacher at Palmerston North Boys High sets homework for parents. Sometimes it would seem a whole lot easier to step in and do your son's maths homework for him. But what is he going to learn? It's not going to assist him in any way. So assist by all means, but don't do the homework. And as the last point on the slide says, a day in detention, so what? That is a day. What about a lifetime of unfulfilled potential? So let your son be the skipper of his fate to some extent with regard to homework. Encourage him. Provide the boundaries. Provide the framework. Don't do the job. Reading is key to success in the NCA secondary school system. It is language heavy. Every subject, mathematics, science, these are fully dependent upon strong reading abilities as well as communication skills. The humanities like history, geography, and English go without saying. But reading, if your son genuinely has no homework, can prove that with the homework diary, ask that he do 30 minutes reading. In my case, I would insist. Reading is the most important skill. I cannot stress that hard enough. And novels are particularly good because in order to appreciate a novel, you have to hold a lot of information in your short-term memory. It trains the exercising of that short-term memory as well as the process of unbundling semantic riddles on paper. Perhaps have a look at what your son is reading. See if you can read the book as well. Perhaps get him to read some of it to you. Well, get him to explain the story to you. Show an interest. The more interest you show in the reading, the better his attitude is going to be. What you are seeing are some very sobering statistics. High-achieving students read about 65 minutes a day. Mid-achievers, 12 minutes daily. Low-achieving students, 1 minute or less. This is critical. The best gift you can give your student is the love of reading. If I was asked to sum up a theme for this presentation, it would be showing an interest in your son's schoolwork. That's been since slide 1. When your son has an assignment, offer to review it. That doesn't mean correct it, rewrite it. It means review it, make some suggestions. Perhaps you see obvious repetitive spelling mistakes. Make a suggestion as, have you put this through the spell checker? Have you put it through the grammar checker? Well, on the other hand, things might not be clear. You might find something very interesting. Ask your student to expound upon that particular point that you'd found interesting, something that you found not clear. Ask him to explain what that point was meant to be, and then once you understand, yes, maybe you should perhaps reword that paragraph in your assignment so that your teacher doesn't have the same confusion I've just had. A teacher's nightmare is when a student turns in a blank page for homework and says, I didn't understand. And the dialogue goes something like this. Very well. What didn't you understand? Everything. I didn't understand. Did you not try? I didn't understand. It's very difficult to assist a student who turns in a blank page. There's a little story there about Edison. When Edison set out to make a lamp, he boasted at the start, said he was going to harness electricity and turn it into light. And after 1,000 attempts, he was interviewed by the New York Times on the steps of his laboratory. A very smarmy reporter said, well, Mr. Edison, you've made 1,000 failed light bulbs. What have you got to say for yourself? And Edison said, I found 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And a few months later, he succeeded. Particularly a subject like mathematics. Most of learning in mathematics takes place through failure. Now that sounds like a contradictory statement, but it is through trying, making mistakes, and persisting that success is reaped. Teachers are able to read a wrong answer, point out the error, and explain the misunderstanding. A blank page does not afford that at all. Many students are terrified to make mistakes. Well, the only people who do not make mistakes are either dead or do nothing. That sounds a bit of a negative statement. Well, it is. Mistakes are the only way most things are learned in life. We are just, at the moment, enjoying our gold medalists in the Winter Olympics. How many times did they fall before they could ride that pipe or do those jumps? In exactly the same way, all learning, we have to fall before we get that successful jump. The statement speaks for itself. The success your son reaps in Year 13 in the NCA examinations of November will depend upon the homework he does tonight. There are many helpful resources out there. Your teacher is the primary resource, of course. Many teachers are available for questions, help. Many teachers are in their rooms at lunchtime assisting students. Students just have to ask. And asking early before misconceptions are allowed to embed themselves and interfere with future learning is so important. Online resources like Khan Academy, exceptionally good. If you've never seen Khan Academy before, do a Google search and you will find your son's entire mathematics syllabus up there in video and demonstration lessons. So much so that a student who perhaps misses a class in some area, they can find it on Khan Academy. Education Perfect, another resource that we have available. It is on your student stationery list. It is a voluntary purchase, but at $15 for a year subscription to lessons and endless practice exercises, it is an excellent investment. $15 for a year commercial tutoring will be about $60 to $70 an hour, and it will not be dedicated tutoring. That will be 6 or 7 students sharing a tutor, not necessarily an expert in that subject. Networking. It's important that your student get involved with extracurricular activities. The extracurricular activities are a vital part of the Palmy Boys' way of life. However, it is really common to see on the cricket pitch, at the side of a basketball court, students talking to each other, a book gets opened, asking each other about the work, and learning is shared. Those inter-student networking episodes are incredibly valuable, and that is why it is so important your son be connected. Finally, giving praise for work well done is so important. When your student or son shows improvement in a test or in some homework or an assignment, it is so important to acknowledge that. There's the old joke about the parent where the son comes home and says, "I got 98% in a mathematics exam." And the parent turns around and says, "What happened to the other 2%? It brings a grin. It's been done many times. I had it done, and it can hurt. Often the student will say, "Well, what is good enough? Maybe not to your face, but inwardly. Why bother trying harder if you can't ever get perfection to make someone happy?" Certainly, make 100% a goal for your student, but reward realistic achievement, and reward it well. Give that praise, give those affirmations. They really matter.